Hello Rebel Divas and welcome to my Writer's Den. Today I am going to read you a story that's the first chapter of the prequel to my Red-Heeled Rebels novel series. Now I've written the short story prequel to the series plus 3 novels, and I'm thinking about writing a 4th novel to the series sometime early next year. So what is the series about, the Red-Heeled Rebels novel series? Well, it's about a bunch of girls, young women. They're in their late teens to early 20s, and they have gone through, lived in different parts of the world, Africa, Asia, Europe, North America. But through their travels and journeys, they hook up with each other one by one, and then they decide to team up to fight the injustices that each of them have faced in wherever in the world that they grew up in. Now the story is written in the point of view of one young woman. Her name is Asha. She's half Indian girl, and the story starts when she's only 12. That's just the prequel, is when she's a very young girl, and how she faces a traumatic event, and because of that she's shipped off to India, where she realizes that that is just the beginning of her fight for her life. And therein starts the global adventure with her friends. Okay, if you'd like the story that I'm going to read to you, the first part of the series, stay with me till the end of the video and I'll give you a link where you can download the entire prequel short story for free, and also take a look to see where the novels are. Alright, are you ready for the beginning of the Red-Heeled Rebels novel series? Chapter 1. 10 minutes before the bell rang, the library door banged open. I looked up startled. There was a tiny crack between 2 bookshelves through which I could see. A gaggle of girls stomped in and were taking over the entire reading table in the middle of the library. They didn't notice me hiding behind the shelves. Pens and books came flying out of designer bags. Someone unrolled a large white sheet of paper in the middle of the table. All heads bowed over it, like they were planning to invade China. The librarian had stepped out for lunch that day, asking me to keep an eye on things, as usual. She knew me from the countless hours I'd spent at the library of this international school I was attending in Tanzania. You know, she used to call me the little Indian bookworm. There was an old rocking chair at the back of the library near the window, and hidden behind the bookshelves, I spent every lunch hour curled up in this book, reading a book, munching on my homemade onion buns, keeping an eye on things for the librarian. With the sun streaming through the window and warming my shoulders, it was a cozy place to be. My curiosity grew as I watched those girls around the table. They don't normally come to the library. I half wished I could join them, but I knew they'd never accept me in their inner circle. You see, I took a bus to school from home, while those girls were driven by uniformed chauffeurs in shiny black Mercedes cars. While all of those girls flew to Europe and America and South Africa for their vacations, my holidays were spent in my family's 2-door forest green Fiat in the back roads of the African savannas. My classmates lived in a totally different stratosphere from me. How I envied them. Our differences were not just in lifestyles, but also in what our parents did for a living. Every morning, I'd sit next to kids of politicians and diplomats and wealthy business people, some of whom ran the biggest mining syndicates in Africa. Most of their families owned cattle ranches and airlines and railways, even shipping lines. Now, while their parents worked hard to expand businesses across the continent, my parents investigated those same business practices, especially their environmental practices. At the dinner table, I often heard my parents talk about the corporations that belong to my classmates' families, and I couldn't help wondering if my classmates' parents talked about mine around their dinner table, because no one wanted to hang out with me at school. The only two places in school where I felt comfortable were at our gym, our martial arts gym, and at the library. When we were learning our martial arts kicks, punches, and yells, and were beating up Bob, the rubber man at the corner of the gym, everyone was equal. No one was judged by the design of clothes they wore, or how many cars their family owned, or how they got to school. All we had to do was show up in a simple t-shirt and shorts and follow instructions. It was fun, and my kicks were fast and furious, though my legs, I knew, were shorter than anyone else's. When I wasn't in class or at the gym practicing my kicks, I hung out at the library. Now, I could stay at the library for hours with my best friends, whom I found between the pages of a book. Books to me were enchanting great gates to other worlds. They were my escape whenever I felt sad or lonely. They took me on adventures and let my imagination soar. As long as I had books for friends, I didn't mind too much being the black sheep in my school. But it was that day as I watched those girls sit around the table and whisper to each other, that I learned how much of a black sheep I really was. "Do we have a caterer?" Tanya asked, breaking the silence. Tanya was the tallest girl in class. She, with a pretty face and ebony skin, she was the girl everyone said would become the next Naomi Campbell. She was gorgeous, but more importantly, she was a daughter of the American ambassador to Tanzania. So Tanya's word ruled everybody's. From hearing my parents talk about world news every night at supper, I couldn't help feeling my class was like a miniature United Nations, including the power plays that happened between all the different countries. "I got Mother's favorite caterer to bring us treats," Bethany said. "They catered to the Queen's birthday celebration last month, and everybody was delighted." Bethany's father was a high-ranking official at the British Diplomatic Corps in Tanzania, and their embassy parties were the most lavish in town. "Oh, so I'd heard." "Oh, I remember that party," Tanya said. "That's great, Beth. Do you want to know what we'll be having, girls?" Bethany asked, with a coy smile. "Yes, tell us," a chorus of voices replied. "We're going to have cucumber sandwiches, mini quiches, prawns on sticks, and a plate of cold meats and rare cheeses," Bethany said. Satisfied murmurs rippled through the crowd. "And for those of you with a sweet tooth, we'll have lemon bars and butter scones and a fancy chocolate cake smothered in Belgian chocolate icing." "Oh my God, sounds awesome, divine, fantastic." From my corner of the room, behind the shelves, I looked down at the last bite of my homemade onion bun. It had lost its remaining appeal. "What else?" Tanya asked, looking around her party committee. "Aunt Marjorie just got back from Joburg and brought me these beautiful packets of macarons," Sophie, the French girl in my class, said. "It'll be my pleasure to share them with you." Sophie that day had a golden hair in pigtails and a signature pink lipstick on. When she introduced herself to the class on the first day of school, she named the large mining company her father owned in East Africa, which also inspired our teacher to teach us a new word, monopoly. I recognized that company name because my parents had inspected it for Environ Africa, where they worked. From what I overheard, what my parents said one night, children as young as 7 worked in underground shafts. They were preferred for their small size and nimbleness. Can you imagine? That night, when I overheard my parents talk about Sophie's company, we'd just finished supper and my parents were cleaning up in the kitchen while I was supposed to be doing homework at the dinner table. But I couldn't help overhearing. And you know, whenever my parents' voices dropped, I knew the topic at hand was an adult conversation, which meant I was compelled to listen even more intently. "Those supervisors beat them. Did you know that?" They're not even 8 years old, some of them, my mother was saying. It's a terrible thing that's happening right under our noses. No one cares as long as they're making money, my father replied. We did what we could do. You think telling the commissioner is going to help? Sometimes I wonder if he's with them. Politics over science, I think that's what always happens, my mother said. We can only do the best we can, my father replied in a quiet voice. I leaned in to hear. Even James quit and went back to Seattle. He was getting the same threats, you know. He did the smart thing. What threats? I wondered, sitting in my dinner table. Well, my mother said with a sniff, we don't have any other place to go. We don't have a Seattle or a London. This is our home now, and we need to do what we can right here. Remember Sven? My father asked, as if he didn't hear my mother say. They said he died hiking in the desert. I know him. I knew him. He hated the outdoors. He lived in his lab, even on Sundays. Someone didn't want him talking. Oh yes, I remember, so pale, like he'd not seen the sun in his life, my mother sighed. But we don't want to get carried away in a way, you know. Maybe he went out for a walk and got sunstroke or something. Dirty politics over science, more like it, my father mumbled. And then they were silent for a minute. Then my father spoke, in a quiet voice, as if choosing his words carefully. You know those men from Boko Mines? They came to see me yesterday. 4 men in that black armored jeep they always drive around in. They were smiling and friendly, but I saw one of them had a gun. I saw it on his belt. Maybe they wanted me to see it. Boko Mines, I thought. Didn't that belong to Sophie's family? I was sure of it. I slipped out of my chair and tiptoed towards the kitchen. My father was facing the sink, washing the dishes. My mother was drying them next to him. Some days, my father was saying, I wonder... Not now, my mother cut him off, giving me a sideways look. She'd spotted me slinking near the doorway. With an innocent look on my face, I looked at them and said, So, what are you talking about? Go finish your homework, child, my mother said, shooing me out with a dishcloth. I don't think my father even noticed me or heard me. He was saying, without even looking up, Karma will get them eventually. It was a conversation that would haunt me later on in life. But that night, I had nightmares of Sophie dragging me to an underground mine to work in a deep, dark place where my parents would never find me. Well, that's part of the first chapter of the prequel to the Red Heel Rebels novel series. I hope you enjoyed this, and if you did and you'd like to read the remaining story, please go ahead and click on this link. It should be somewhere here, and you'll be able to download the entire prequel short story for free. Thank you so much for listening, and I really hope you enjoyed this. Thank you so much for listening. Did you enjoy that video? If you did, I have 2 giveaways for you. The first is a prequel to the Red Heeled Rebels novel series. Now this is a coming-of-age action-adventure women's thriller that spans the globe with some sassy, spunky, sexy young women who get together to fight the injustices that they face wherever in the world they may come from. Now you can always buy this prequel short story on Amazon, Kobo, and other online retailers, but why buy it when you can download it for free right here? There should be a link here. And when you do, you'll subscribe to the Red Heel Rebels novels, and I will send you promotional prices for the novels on launch day as well as throughout the year, as well as I'll send you international recipes. You see, I'm a big foodie and I love healthy food from around the world, and I've infused my stories with food. So I thought, hey, I have the recipes, why not share them with my readers? I'll also invite you to Facebook Live parties whenever I launch a new book, So you can join in, have a chat, and you can ask me questions about the series, the books, the characters, or we can talk about food, international food. I'll be up for that. Now, the second giveaway I have is called My Rebel Dreams, and you should see a link down here for this. My Rebel Dreams is the first journal in a series of 3 journals, and the series is called the Rebel Diva Journals. And these journals are designed to create a treasure map that would help you get to your dreams and live the life that you desire. So through inspirational quotes and images and introspective questions and guidance and worksheets, it takes you by the hand to figure out what your fundamental values are. What's your vision in life? What are your passions? Some of us have many passions. And how do you choose? How do you figure that out? And how do you create a proper plan to get to where you want? And most importantly, how do you stay on your game so you're not discouraged, that you can have fun and this is interesting and this is exciting. So that's the whole goal of the Rebel Diva Journals. They are not going to be out till 2018, but first week of January 2018, I'll be giving away My Rebel Dreams, the first journal in the series, the electronic copy of that, if you sign up. So sign up for either one, whatever your interests are. And if your interests are personal development, sign up for the My Rebel Dreams journal. If you like fiction, sign up for the prequel to the Red Heel Rebels novel series. So sign up for both. And I will see you next week with a new video.